Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a report from Virtualization Options LLC. Now, they specialize in breaking down really complex tech issues for executives, and this one tackles a legal concept that is quietly shaping your company's biggest risks. It's called the third-party doctrine, and it all comes down to one question. Who really has the keys to your company's and your customers' most sensitive data? So let's just get right to the heart of it. Think about this. Every time your company signs up for a new cloud service or one of your customers downloads your app, you're making a trade. You're getting convenience. You're getting efficiency. But are you totally clear on what you're trading away when it comes to privacy and control? It's just part of our world now, right? We use cloud storage for our most critical documents. We connect with our clients and partners on social media. We rely on dozens of third-party apps just to keep the business running. It's seamless, it's pretty much essential, but there's a hidden legal cost that comes with all of it. Okay, so to really get our heads around the rules for our digital world, we first have to take a trip back in time to an era when data meant ink on a piece of paper and privacy meant putting a lock on your door. This right here is the cornerstone of American privacy law. But it was designed for a physical world. It gave you protection over your property, your office, your filing cabinets, your business records. It basically created a private zone that the government couldn't just walk into without a really good reason and, importantly, a warrant. So as technology completely changed what information even is, the courts had a huge problem on their hands. How does a rule that was written to protect a physical letter in a drawer apply to an email that's stored on a server hundreds of miles away? That question? Well, it led to a major legal shift. And this brings us to the big twist in the story, the third-party doctrine. And according to that Virtualization Options report, for any executive today, this is probably the single most important concept to really get your head around when it comes to your data. So here's the deal, and it's a big one. The moment you or your company voluntarily gives data to someone else, like your bank, your phone company, or your cloud provider, the law has generally said that you've given up your Fourth Amendment privacy rights over it. What that means is the government might be able to get that data by going to your vendor, not by coming to you. Now, this idea was really cemented by two key cases back in the 70s. First, in a case called United States versus Miller, the court basically said, your bank records, they aren't really your private papers anymore. They're the bank's business records. Then, just a few years later, in Smith versus Maryland, the court applied that same logic to the phone numbers you dial, saying they belong to the phone company. And with that, the precedent was set. Okay, so you have a legal framework from the 1970s. How does it hold up in the 21st century? Well, as you can probably guess, this is where we see a massive collision. The world has completely changed, but the rule has pretty much stayed the same. Today, the issue isn't just about the content of an email or a phone call. It's the huge, nonstop stream of data about our data, the metadata. This is like the digital exhaust that our businesses create every single second of the day. First, there's location. And we're not talking about just one data point. This is a constant feed of GPS coordinates from company phones, cell tower pings, even the Wi-Fi networks your employees connect to. It paints a really detailed map of your company's every move. Then, every single digital action creates a timestamp. The exact second a critical email was sent, when a sensitive file was accessed from the cloud, or when a potential client visited your website. It's all logged, creating a permanent, second-by-second record of your operations. And just think about your networks, your company's entire address book, your professional connections on social media. All of this is recorded and stored by third parties. It creates a complete map of your corporate ecosystem. And finally, there's usage data. This is the stuff that tracks how long your sales team was on a call, what websites your research department is looking at, and which apps are being used the most. It's practically a blueprint of your company's daily habits and strategies. And this brings us to the real heart of the modern problem, something called the mosaic theory. You see, one little piece of metadata, like a single location ping, might seem totally trivial on its own. But when you start to assemble all of those little pieces, you can build an unbelievably detailed picture of a person's life or even a company's entire strategic operation. So it's this sheer scale of data collection that is putting that old doctrine under some really immense strain. The legal foundation that was laid back in the 70s is definitely starting to show some serious cracks. A major tremor hit in 2018. It came from a landmark Supreme Court case that really signaled a potential shift in the way the courts think about this. In the case Carpenter v. United States, the court didn't actually get rid of the third-party doctrine. But they did carve out a huge exception for historical cell phone location data. They recognize that tracking your every move for weeks on end is just fundamentally different and way more invasive than looking at a list of phone numbers you called 40 years ago. The pressure is also coming from outside the US. For any company that operates globally, this is a huge deal. You have the traditional US approach, which says you lose your privacy rights when you share data. But then you have Europe's GDPR, which says the exact opposite, that your fundamental privacy rights follow your data, no matter who holds it. That disconnect creates massive headaches for compliance. And new technologies are pushing this doctrine to its absolute limit. I mean, every IoT sensor in your supply chain, every AI model you train on user data, every single file you store in the cloud, each one of those is a new test case for this old rule. And that just creates more and more legal uncertainty. So, after looking at this whole landscape, what's the bottom line for an executive? What does all this really mean for your strategy and how you manage risk? The number one takeaway is this: the legal ground is shifting under our feet. The old assumption that you could just hand your data to a vendor and wash your hands of the privacy risk, well, that's over. It's gone. What was legally safe yesterday could easily become a huge liability tomorrow. So your company's policies on data governance, on how you manage your vendors, this isn't just about compliance anymore. It's a core strategic issue. And that leads us to the final critical question that the Virtualization Options Report really wants you to think about. This isn't just an IT problem or a legal problem anymore. It's a C-suite issue. In a world where data is your most valuable asset, asking who gets to control it, well, that isn't just important. It's everything.